Tuesday, June 15th. The news of the discovery of dinosaur bones on the moon has sent the world into a frenzy. Every television and radio station is talking about it, and the shock and disbelief are palpable. As a paleontologist, I am excited about the discovery but can't shake off the feeling that something is off. So when my old friend Agent Jones, a high-ranked and seasoned detective, called me this morning with his claim of a cover-up in ancient creatures from outer space, I was intrigued. Agent Jones is apparently part of a small investigation unit created to focus on a possible link between the bones on the moon and reports of frequent deaths on a remote island. He told me that the official story about the discovery of dinosaur bones on the moon was a cover-up and that the scientists were still trying to figure out what the bones were and how they got there. He also mentioned that some of the findings from the bones on the moon led to a hypothesis of ancient creatures from outer space that could have been on Earth. He asked me to join him in his investigation of this strange series of frequent deaths on a remote and until recently uninhabited island that could be linked to such creatures. I was skeptical, but I couldn't pass up the opportunity to uncover the truth. We will meet at the port tomorrow. Saturday, June 18th. As Agent Jones and I set off to the island, he explained to me that while analyzing the bones on the moon, they found evidence of a rare mineral that is only found on Earth. This led them to the hypothesis that these ancient creatures had come to Earth in the past. The investigation of strange deaths was linked to the incredible lunar discovery because the island contains a big deposit of the same rare earth mineral found on the moon. The island is known for its dense jungle and treacherous terrain. Yet, one of the coves had been turned into a 5-star holiday resort 5 years ago by a wealthy businessman who had been looking to invest in an exotic location. It just so happens that the rich and elderly clientele of the resort has a tendency of seeing the last of their days there. Even though the causes of death have all proven to be natural, the rate of death has alarmed its owners. Having given up hope on all the virologists, cardiologists, and the rest, the FBI had decided to step in and called the legendary Agent Jones, who had a reputation for solving impossible cases, to duty. Thursday, June 30th. For more than a week, Agent Jones and I have been interviewing the holiday resort employees, but it was the manager's interview that proved the most informative. Agent Jones was able to use his skillful questioning and ability to read people to deduce the location of the creature, not from the manager's words, but from his silent stares to certain questions. Also, he had requested to see a list of all employees of the resort along with their CVs and employment contracts in order to get a better feeling of what kind of people we were dealing with. That's when he made the intriguing discovery that the entire staff was contracted to work at the resort for only 1 month per year, even Mr. Manager. One of the bellboys joked about this situation by saying, "Hey, I don't care what's going on the island, I am just here to pay my dues, nothing less, nothing more." It is a known fact that some holiday facilities only work during the high season, but the 1-month limit is still quite odd. Especially given the fact that the resort functions all year round but rotates its employees on site so frequently. Friday, July 1st. Agent Jones and I ventured into the island to reach the suspected location. As we made our way deeper into the jungle, my heart was pounding with excitement and fear. The dense foliage seemed to swallow us up, and the silence was broken only by the sound of our own footsteps. We expected to see bones similar to what was found on the moon. Indeed, as we went deeper into the jungle, we found more and more bones scattered around. However, my archaeological skills helped me understand that these were bones of animals and birds normally encountered on such an island. Yet, there were too many of them laying around. They looked like breadcrumbs left behind by a monster, a living one. But we had to return to the resort at the end of the day and continue our investigation the next day. As we walked back to the resort, I couldn't shake off the feeling that we were being watched, and I couldn't help but wonder if we were getting closer to something truly dangerous. Saturday, July 2nd. We have encountered a cave that looked quite out of place. It was slanted and looked like it was going into the earth. The cave was damp and musty, with a chill in the air. Walking on the rocky and uneven ground, I took leverage from the cave walls. I couldn't help but notice that they were strangely smooth, in high contrast to the ground. The light from outside was filtering into the cave, casting eerie shadows on the walls. As we progressed further into the cave, the sound of circulating air grew louder, until it became clear that it was not air we were hearing, but a ragged breathing. At the end of tunnel, we were faced with a sight that left us speechless. A massive creature was sleeping with its back turned against the outside. It had jagged spines and armored plates unlike any I had ever seen. Agent Jones pulled out his gun, pointed to the ground, but his eyes never leaving the creature, and started to slowly cock it. In the suspense of the moment, I felt that the clicking of the gun was going to bring the whole cave down. He was ready for action, even though the size of the creature left me doubtful that we could do anything if it decided that we were not supposed to be there, or even worse if it considered us as another prey. Just as these thoughts were going through my head, I whispered Agent Jones to put his gun away. He resisted my proposition with a long silence and then raised his eyebrows as if to ask, "What are you on about?" I raised my eyebrows in return and offered him a small, subtle smile to reassure him that it was going to be all right. The creature was hiding in a deep cave and didn't react to our presence. On top of that, I was noticing since yesterday that the bones that we were seeing showed signs of natural death and not hunting. Bone structures were laid out where they were supposed to be and not all over the place after a monster's feast. I was not able to observe a single tooth or claw mark on those bones either. It was clear that we weren't in imminent danger. We stood there, transfixed, as the creature's ribcage rose and fell with the steady rhythm of a calm beach. We returned to the resort as the sun started to die out. Not much talking happened. We had to gather our thoughts and let this new reality set in. Sunday, July 3rd. As the sun began to rise over the island, Agent Jones and I sat huddled in deep discussion, our minds racing with theories about the strange creature we had discovered. We spent the day going back and forth, trying to piece together the puzzle of what these creatures were and where they came from. Based on the fact that one of the creatures was found dead on the moon and now, a living one is found on Earth, Agent Jones proposed, "I think it's possible that these creatures are flying to the moon to die in peace and leave no trace of them here." It's interesting to imagine that this ultimate flight could be at the origin of various dragon myths around the world. I nodded thoughtfully, but my mind was already turning towards another theory. "I'm inclined to believe in a hypothesis of panspermia," I said. "Maybe some of these creatures landed on the moon and some on Earth. As for the link between the discovery sites based on the rare Earth material, I suggest that we may have to remove the Earth identifier. Maybe they're rare on Earth because they were transported here along with these creatures, however they traveled up to this point in space." Agent Jones looked at me with a mixture of awe and skepticism. "That's a bold theory," he said. "I'm not sure if it's crazy or genius, or both." Despite the lack of scientific proof, it was clear that the creature was draining the life force of nearby organisms. This would explain the unexpected deaths of elderly clientele and the animal bones on the island. But most importantly, it would shed light on the employment contracts based on a 1-month per year period. The resort owners knew about the phenomenon, or at least suspected it. As we sat there in the fading light, Agent Jones sent a communication to the FBI headquarters, detailing our findings and hypotheses. "Tomorrow, we will get as close as possible to the creature and collect DNA evidence." Monday, July 4th. As we made our way back to the cave where the creature was discovered, I couldn't help but notice that the animal bones scattered around the area seemed to have been disturbed. My unease grew as we approached the cave, and my suspicions were confirmed when we found the entrance to the cave had been cordoned off with bright yellow security tape. Agent Jones let out a string of curses under his breath, his hand balled into a fist at his side. "Damn it, they've beaten us to it," he spat. I was about to ask who he meant by "they," but before I could get the words out, 2 heavily armed security guards appeared out of nowhere, their assault rifles trained on us. We both raised our hands in surrender, and the guards escorted us to a tent with a military helicopter waiting not far off. The commander in charge was waiting for us in front of a makeshift table where paperwork lay. He gestured towards them and stated, "You are being sworn to secrecy." His tone left no room for argument. I could see in Agent Jones's eyes that he understood the gravity of the situation as well. We were being given a choice, and our choice was going to set the destination for the helicopter waiting outside. Before we left the tent, the commander informed us that the resort was being shut down and all patrons and employees were being transferred to the mainland. My heart sank as I realized that our discovery would likely never see the light of day, and the truth about the creature would forever be buried in secrecy. The thought of all the unanswered questions and the potential danger to the public weighed heavily on my mind as the helicopter flew us back to the mainland.